Welcome to Keeping Up with Data. Keeping Up with Data is the podcast that keeps data enthusiasts up to speed with what is happening in the data world. We bring in the leading minds from the data industry to talk all things career, news, embarrassing stories, failures, and successes. So something really important for us here at Precision Sourcing is mental health. It's something we've been focused on a lot over the last year or so, and we're lucky enough to have partnered with the Black Dog Institute. And we're going to be doing a lot of events with them this year. A lot of our events, money will be going towards them. And they're out there aiming to create a mentally healthier world for everyone. So if you wish to support the cause, please donate via the link in the bio on this podcast, and you'll be seeing a lot more information about Black Dog over the next year.
Welcome once again to Keeping Up with Data with myself, Joel Robinstein.
Me, Emily Noda.
There she is. And today we're virtual because we've gone across the pond and we've got our friend Gurbani Singh on the podcast all the way from New Zealand. Gurbani, thank you so much for coming on today. How are you?
Thank you so much, Joel and Emily, for having me. I am so excited to be talking here with you guys.
That's what we like to hear. So obviously, as we always do, please do introduce yourself to the people listening, Gurbani. It's always the best way is to get you to tell them a bit about yourself.
I'm Gurbani. I am from Auckland, all the way across the ditch. I lead a team of analysts. So I lead the analytics team at Tower Insurance, which is a property and casualty insurance company. We are in New Zealand and 7 Pacific countries.
Perfect. So I'm really excited today to get into some of the New Zealand chat, and I'm sure you are as well, Emily, as we all know, coming from over there. And maybe just as well, touch on some of the differences between the Australian market, the New Zealand market, but you obviously mentioned as well that Tower is in multiple countries, so we can get into that. We'll get into all the usual stuff around your career, why you're in data. We'll try and open up the doors to some interesting topics, especially around imposter syndrome. I think we're going to try and touch on that today. So it should be a really, really cool episode, and I'm very excited to get us kicked off. So let's start from the position that we normally do. What was that moment when you realized, right, career in data, here we go, this is for me?
So it's a very, very long story, and there were a lot of science which I didn't take. So I did my graduation, my bachelor's was in engineering, computer science. So it's a place where you learn about data and databases. I was really good at it. That was probably one of the indicators that this is something I should pursue. It's easy, when you get recognition and appreciation, you start liking it and, ultimately start loving it with time. But there were no jobs when I graduated. The jobs were Java developers and C# developers, and that was not something I was good at or I wanted to pursue also. So I ended up going and doing my MBA after that. So I got into marketing and branding, but I always enjoyed the data side of it. So I ventured back into data. So I knew I liked it, but never took the hints. So yeah. That's me.
Really interesting that you said that although you knew what you wanted, because the opportunities weren't there, you had to take a sidestep. And so what made you go towards the kind of marketing and branding world?
So my MBA was a dual specialization with finance and marketing. The reason why I ventured there was it was value creation, which excited me. I could see the value being created. I liked touching with the customers, and it was instant. If you're in branding, you decide what the customer experience is going to look like. Very early on in my career, I was with a very large, I'm from India, I'm an immigrant here. So I was with a very large bank, which was venturing into retail at that point of time. So it was a very large industrial bank. They did like millions of dollars of loans. That was their arena. They didn't know how to deal with customers who were doing, thousands. So it was a good experience for me at that point of time with marketing and branding. It showed me how you could bring back value, and it was all around data. It was all around specs. It helped me understand, it was value creation, whether it was through the business side or whether it was technology, whether it was digital, but it was the value creation which excited me.
That makes sense. I know one of the things that you've always said over the years, Emily, is that marketing and branding is actually a really good route into the data world.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those ones where it gives you a pretty quick start into managing relationships, people. It's like the softer skill build up that a lot of people maybe miss going straight into a technical role. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Yeah,
It's rare.
that is true. I mean, after so many years, now I have customer analytics under me where we're using marketing automation tools for designing campaigns and sending them over. Um, just understanding if the campaign is working, measuring impact, and all of that makes sense. And customer analytics is one area where the scope of error is not there. Like you cannot make an error because one customer wrong message that goes out could have impact on that customer, which is not good, which is not a fantastic experience.
Yeah, we've had entered into the world of automation over the last 2 or 3 years. We've definitely made some mistakes along the way. We've been very lucky in some senses that the people that we've made those mistakes to have been very understanding that we're trying new things, but at other times obviously we have put our foot in it a little bit. And like you said, it doesn't take much negative to turn a customer away from you, but it takes so much to make them a positive advocate of your business though.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, the cost of customer acquisition is so much higher. And if you end up messing it up, then it's not a good experience. A bad experience, a customer will always go talk, they will go tell their friends, their family, and that's the conversation around dinner table or around the barbecue. We don't want that happening. We want them talking about the new advertisement and having the fantastic experience with whatever industry you're in. You want them talking about the fantastic experiences, not how you shouldn't have received that email, but you received it. But yeah, it's unfortunate, and it's human psychology also. Negative does stick around.
Gotcha. Yeah.
That's
The worst
true.
one we ever had, we got very lucky on. We were doing a test automation and it was meant to go to one of our colleagues internally, but unfortunately went to someone externally. And there was like a 3 out of 10 non-PG word in there. It wasn't anything too bad, but it definitely wasn't something that you'd want a customer seeing. But luckily, they just chose to ignore it and move on with their lives. So that was good. Anyway, so back to you, back to marketing and how it can be of use. Do you feel that because you spent a little bit of time outside of those data teams, maybe from the other side of things, working directly with the customers, that's helped you understand how you and your team interact with data at a more customer level?
Yes, definitely. It helps me naturally build the relationships, just like Emily pointed out, and relationship building is important because that's when you understand the actual value that the data can create. Without the context, data is meaningless. And if there is data, you need that. What is the business problem you're going to solve for? Unfortunately, data is so powerful that you can prove any hypothesis you want. You take a sliver of it, you can prove anything you want from there, which is really bad for the business because you don't want that sliver of unwanted value being created and unwanted insights being used in places where it shouldn't be. So you need to understand the whole bigger picture. You need to understand, don't start with the data, start with the business problem. Start with what are they trying to solve for, what is the opportunity, or what is the problem they have, like what is causing them grief. And if you can, sometimes it's easy, it's low-hanging fruit. If you just find out gaps in the process, that's just the starting point. They have to do the hard work. The change management is massive. The change management piece is massive, and that's something you have to work with the business for. Otherwise it's meaningless. You could churn out reporting after reporting. You can do as much of advanced analytics as you want, build out those predictive models. But if the business is not acting on it, if they don't trust it, if it is not solving their problem, then it's just a nice model. That's all it is.
And do you know what? You've hit the nail on the head there about pieces of data being used in the wrong way and sticking in minds. I know, Emily, we work with someone in our business. As soon as there's a stat, that it just sticks in our boss's mind from years ago. And no matter where the conversation goes moving forward, that stat sticks in, no matter whether it's future proven wrong, their brain just goes back to that initial, well, I heard this once, right?
True.
Yeah.
True.
So true.
Yeah. Right. So we're talking about where data can go wrong. And I think a really good topic that we have spoken about on the podcast a lot is where in your career has not knowing what the data says, or knowing what the data says, should I say, not being enough. So as in, like, you've got everything you need there. You so obvious that you've proven your point, but you still can't, for whatever reason, get it through the people that you're talking to. Like, have you got any stories around that?
It's a story of every data leader's life. It's when you start off, data it's a fairly, I'm going to say it's quite young, and in the way it is now suddenly become such a big professional part of every company, but it's still a very young place. When you come in, you have to build that trust. And that trust is built over time. It takes lots and lots of small instances where you are helping them out, helping them get over those little roadblocks, helping them ease out the little grief points, helping them optimize their process. And it takes one instance of data being wrong, them going, oh, we don't trust this. We don't trust this report. And it's very unfortunate because it's the easy excuse and it's the easy way out. We don't trust this data because there is this gap in it, or this data point was wrong a couple of months ago. But ever since we've actually proven that it's not, it was a user error, but the people in the room have left, and you can't chase behind people and you can't tell them. So it's a battle you can't win, but it's slowly, incrementally, step by step, you build that trust around it, where they go, even if it is not looking like the number I was expecting, they reach out and they go, the numbers are not looking right in the report. Is there an issue? It always helps if you're proactive and you send out the comms before they realize, going, we know there's an issue, we're sorting it out, we're on top of it. Then they have that, at least that reliable factor going, they know what they're doing. So it's I think it's in every company. It takes a while for you to build the trust on the data. It helps if you've got facts which prove your data are right. Simple things, reconciliations and audit reports telling you if it's coming from one source. If say 1500 was the number that came in, if it went out, it changed to 4098. There's a reason why it changed to 4098, or we know this wasn't within the acceptable a buffer of error that is there. But it takes a long amount of time to build that trust, and it's not just one person. I've built trust before, but then I become the bottleneck. I don't want that happening. So it needs to be the trust for my practice, the trust for my team, the trust for the whole entire organization using the data.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know, Emily, you speak to a lot more people these days who are leaving roles, but one of the things that used to come up for me now and again was, and it's what Gurbani's talking about here, is that people can spend maybe 12 or 18 months in a business trying to change minds, trying to convince people about the data, but there are just some people and some businesses that are stuck in their ways. Is that still a gripe that people have when they're coming to you saying, hey, I'm looking for a new job because you know what, I just, for whatever reason can't get this knowledge through the business?
I would say that is very common, but you kind of have to like read between the lines, because people will tell you it from their perspective, and oh, these people are being really difficult, like blame, but actually it might be just them that it's doing the same thing that they think that they should be doing because they've always thought it's worked, but it's somehow not working this time, and it's like, maybe you should think about that and change your approach, but you kind of have to be careful with those conversations, because obviously I'm not in that business. I have no idea what's going on, and also you kind of need to be there to support as well with the job search. So yeah, it is a common theme. It's just marginal.
Yeah. I agree. It's we are very young, and that's why the change management piece, getting the sponsorship from senior leadership, as senior as you can get within the organization, is really important, because then people think twice before pointing blame and saying the data is wrong. So change management, which is it's still not mainstream yet. People don't look at change management as a part of when you build out anything with data. But yeah,
that makes sense.
it is
there. And do you know what?
Takes a while.
It leads quite well into leadership as well. I mean, we speak about this a bit, Emily, especially now you're leading people. But if the person that you're delivering the message to hasn't got the message, you look at yourself first as to how you've delivered that message, because at the end of the day, you're the one communicating. It's not necessarily their fault that they haven't got it. You've got to look at the way you've done it first, which is, like you said there, Gurbani, this change management piece. You can't just walk into a room and go, look, here's the data, now change. Life doesn't work like that, right?
They've been running the business for so long. They know the business, You don't want to be the external consultant who comes in and just says, you've been doing things wrong. No, we're here to help. We're here to enable. We are help to just let you do your job much more easily, much more faster, and maybe take away a little bit of the pain points around there.
Exactly.
That's all we're here for.
And are you finding that, obviously with COVID, things changed a lot in the world, and what we found interestingly as recruiters, it was actually a positive market for us in a sense because companies needed more data than ever. So it made they wanted more data people, but obviously with greater amounts of data people in people's business, the greater the investment, the bigger the spotlight. Are we starting to see almost more pressure now on these data teams because it's the news for the last 2 years, everything's data, so you can't really hide as such anymore, if that makes sense?
That is true. It is, what COVID did was it pushed everybody and forced them to do something which they were not ready to do and which they were planning to do maybe 5 or 7 years later. One of them was working from home. Then there was, building out your digital apps and putting more love and attention towards your digital channel, right? That was something we knew we had to do. And working from home was a concept which the big corporates did have, but was still, if I work 2 Fridays from home in a row, they went, you're not working, it's like, but I'm working, it's different. So it had to become normal, and we were forced to do it. There was no option. Simple, right? So if you're working from home, then if digital is going to become in the center, then data is required. And data is so much more than reporting. So right now I lead analytics at Tower. So people do extracts, people build Power BI reports, they do advanced analytics. They also do product analytics and customer analytics. But this is not even the tiniest piece of what data should be doing. Data should be in every part of the business. It should be enabling your customer experiences. It should be the one which is in the front making the decisions for you. And reporting is just like one tiny little piece of it, right? But reporting was what data was. That was pre-COVID, that was what it was, right? But now it's become mainstream. Now it's part of exec conversations. It's part of board conversations.
That's good. And are people expecting quicker wins?
Yes.
Because of that as well, yeah?
Yes. So they want everything to be delivered yesterday. It's like, okay, I'm ready for investment. Where's your plan? When is it getting executed? It takes a while, Yes, it's very hard to get people as well, but it takes a while to build out that blueprint, the design, understanding whether it's building out your data warehouse or your reporting or everything. It takes time.
Of course.
But they want everything really quickly, and it's not the same as it's not stitching up clothes, where you say you add 100 more people and you'll get 100 t-shirts. It doesn't work like that. So yes, they want quicker wins. They want quicker results, which is hard. And it's managing those expectations as a data leader. You have to be able to do that. Otherwise, your team is under pressure. And you don't want to pass that pressure down, which would lead to a lot more attrition than what we're seeing right now. People are already moving because it's just a better market and very hot market to move. And I understand that, if you're getting, 40,000 more than your current role, I don't know how to say don't go, I don't know how to say that. But yeah, we don't want people leaving for reasons such as burnout, or we don't want them leaving because they feel there's too much pressure. That's not good publicity for you as an organization. That's not.
I agree.
Do you think we might be going backwards in a sense as well, Emily? I mean, just a few briefs that I've been sat in on the last few weeks. Because budgets are tightening, but as Gurbani's rightly said, people are wanting more. Do you think we're going to slip back into I need a 2-in-1 hire as well? Again, like someone who can build as well as produce insights, which is obviously we know isn't ideal.
Yes, I've seen that already. I don't know if you've seen the same, Gurbani, but I've seen that with briefs. If there's like hints of that coming, and it's a really dangerous place to be in, because we're already in such a talent short market, and getting people that are unicorns is just like, I don't know, it's just a really bad way to build a business, because you're going into like reaction mode, not like we're building and growing, and like people will leave,
Yeah,
they
it's the
won't be able to
burnout,
be there
right?
long term.
Yeah, if
Yes,
they're doing
yes.
two people's jobs, they're going to burn out, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily two people's job, but it's two kinds of jobs.
Yeah, okay.
It could be, you don't need a full data engineer. You need half a data engineer, or you need 0.4 of a data engineer. But if you're getting somebody to do a two kinds of job, then it shouldn't be 0.5, 0.5. It should be 0.3 and 0.4, so that there is that little bit of time for context switching or tool switching and all of that. But also the other reason, with this market being really hot in the digital and data space, we're seeing a lot of wrong kind of attention to the talent here. People are coming here just for the money.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a bad thing. You need money for sure, right? But you need to like what you do. You don't have to love it every day. Like, this is something which I say very often. I say to my team, be in it if you like at least 80% of the times.
Yeah,
that's a good way to
You
put it.
don't have to. You don't have to love it. But if you hate it and you're just doing it for the money, if you want to do the bare minimum, then yeah, good luck. It's going to be really hard for you. It's going to be hard for you. You're going to be unhappy, and then you're going to make everybody else unhappy as well around you. But yeah, we will need hybrid people. The reason is we're just growing in spaces. I started at Tower a little less than 2 years ago. When I started, there were 6 people.
Wow.
We're close to 30 headcount or 20 plus headcount, at this point of time. And everybody's got work to do. Everybody had work to do at that point of time also. It's just we're expanding in areas. And same thing for every other company, every peer or colleague I speak to, or seniors in the industry, everybody is expanding into areas. They want to automate, they want more insights, they want to be able to track what the customer is doing, what the business is doing. They're optimizing, process mining. Those were not terms I knew about. Or they were theoretical terms, they didn't mean much in the business world. But yeah, it's changing.
I really like what you said before as well about not expecting to always love your job, because you always hear on the social sites, do your passion, do the job that you love, turn up to work every day like it's not actually your job. But I think it's ridiculous to try and say anyone's going to be happy 100% of the time. Even in your home life, if you're in the happiest relationship with the happiest family, you're going to have up and down days. So it's acknowledging that there are going to be a few days where you might not be the happiest in the world. But so many people, because we want instant gratification these days, as soon as they have a bad day or a bad week, they go, right, that's it for me. I'm out. I'm going to search for something new. When in reality, working on what you've got often pays dividends. And I think we're seeing that a lot as well, Emily, right? Where people, I hate to say throw their toys out the pram, because it's not really like that, but they maybe have a bad week at work, go out on the market, do a few interviews. And then when they finally get to pull that trigger of leaving, their manager goes, oh, no, please stay. And, here's 10K more and a new job title. And that's really all they wanted, was an arm around the shoulder saying, no, we want you. But they've then gone and done all that work of going out to market and then realizing, actually, I want to stay. And we're really pushing people these days to go, look, if you are unhappy or thinking of leaving, have you actually spoken to your leader yet? You don't have to say, look, I'm going to leave, but you go say, hey, I just would love to know what the next 6 months looks like for me in this business. I'm feeling like I'm stagnated a little bit. And then if you get a bad reaction from that conversation, brilliant reason to leave, because you're not working for a good leader. But, I don't know if you have that relationship with a lot of people within your team, but I'd always hope, and I feel like we've got this with Emily and I. Like, if I was ever going to leave, or if Emily was ever going to leave, we'd probably tell each other first, and work it out, and then see where we go from there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, you need to work for the right reasons,
You do.
And you need to be appropriately compensated, and remuneration is important. I will never say it's not important, but yeah, there needs to be more reasons than just remuneration, because you'll get almost the same amount in doing something that you not love 100% of the time, but I love my job 80% of the time. 20% of the time I'm hyperventilating because I don't know what to do, or it's just, but all it takes is sometimes just switching off the laptop. Sometimes it's just takes powering through it, going, I've got
Exactly.
this one bite at a time. And then, but you need to like what you do. You need
do
to.
need to like what you do, but we're always going to have some sort of anxiety or something about our job in some way. We're always going to have to deliver a message that we don't want to have to. We're always going to have to deal with a situation that isn't ideal. That's just work, isn't it? You just, I think, especially for me now, I've been in the same business 12 years. It's made it easier because I can look back on, okay, if I've got hard conversations with someone this week, okay, there's 17 other hard conversations I've had over the last 12 years. And I'm still fine and everything's okay here. It becomes easier. But I think for a lot of people coming into the workforce, especially if it's their first 3-4 years of their career, it is hard. And I can see how all those conversations affect people, and especially those who started work during COVID and didn't have the time to build relationships with their co-workers. And anyway, interesting world that we're living in at the minute. Just, I think, a good segue before we get into our favorite moment where we get you to roll out your terrible data jokes, is the talent struggle. So let's maybe talk about New Zealand, where you are. I don't know whether you dip into the Australian market as well for remote workers, but yeah, look, would love to hear what it's like, firstly, maybe in the microcosm that is New Zealand, from both of you, of course, but maybe start with you, Gurbani.
Struggle is real. The talent struggle is real. It's real. We still have people applying. So I have grown my team. So I did start during COVID period at Tower. So I started in December 2020. We were not in lockdown at that time. We'd started coming back to work and all of that. But I have grown the team considerably and with different skill sets. Even pre-COVID, New Zealand is a small market. So we have a lot of people come in through the migration channel, and it's a small place. We've got very few people, and then data is a new industry. You don't have veterans who've been around for a very long time, so you need young people. You need students for coming out graduation, doing the graduation. So that was not happening. So our talent influx sort of dried out after, I'd say, March or April in 2021, because the last batch of students were finished up, that was there. But we still have people applying to roles. I still have a role open in the digital analyst space. I still have people applying, right? But the problem is it's the quality and why somebody wants to do the role. Like you said, it could be just purely for money reasons. Okay, I get it. But if you're jumping around too much, if you're bouncing between jobs every 6 months for not a good reason, so it's the quality of the talent which has gone down. We still have people, and a lot of people want to come into this space because they think this is going to give them job security over a long period of time. There are a lot of people who come in and they want to do the bare minimum, versus data is a space where you need to be really passionate. I'm not asking you to do long days. Never. I would do that. I tell my team, I do not expect you to do long days ever. There might be a day here and there where you're doing a long day or you're working a little bit extra, but you're grown up, and I expect you to take time off the next day or the day after, once it's calmed down. What I'm asking for is that extra bit of passion, where you want to do it because it gives you instant gratification, because you see the value that it's creating for the business. You see that aha moment when somebody from the business goes, oh my God, I knew this was happening, but this just proves it's happening. It helps them go tweak out that process. It helps them build quality service for your customers. And with the social media and all of that happening, it's not customer experience. Insurance is such a boring and a very old industry, but our customers want the same experience like Amazon or Facebook or Instagram. So that's our competition when it comes to customer experience. That's not the competitor. It's not. Yeah, I was actually talking to somebody, and the person said Facebook's got, I think, 38,000 data points about each individual, and she was okay with it. And I went, would you have been okay about this? I don't know if the stats are real or they made up, but I know Facebook has a lot of data points, and the point behind it was she was okay with Facebook having those number of data points. It's just a change in the mindset for the customer.
Yeah,
They're
100%
okay with
it is.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I even everyone goes on. That's terrible. We're lumping everyone together. But people do talk a lot about, oh, they're holding this date, they're holding that date. I'm like, they've already bloody got it, right? Everyone's already got it. They know exactly who you are, where you are, and what you're doing.
Yeah.
So either
Yeah.
you're on board with it, or the whole system has to change.
Yes, yes. So that's the kind of world we are in. So we're part of that data world where there is constantly changes happening, and you have to adapt to it. And you need to, really want to do this. And data people are slightly wired differently. I'm wired like that as well. I try not to get much into technical, but I don't know how I'm going to solve the problem when I start out, but it just like different branches just magically appear in the head.
Exactly.
It's a wiring problem, okay? So it's like we're just wired differently. So you need to want to do that, And if you're passionate about anything, you will be very good about it.
Yeah.
You can build a skill set. You don't have to be born with it. You can build a skill set, but you need to put in the hard work.
I agree. I feel like I just piggybacking off that, I feel like one of the key things that I've seen is that people, like we've kind of touched on it, but people are starting to get a bit like antsy because they've taken the job maybe for just money, and they're like, well, this is too hard because from XYZ reason, and then they're leaving within like 2.5 months and not giving it a full go and giving it enough time. And I feel like those are the kind of things that people need to go through to be sort of built back up and bounce back and build your resilience, and you gain experience through those types of things as well. It's really, really valuable, and a lot of people are missing that piece. And that's, I think, what's challenging the quality of talent as well, right? Because there's less people that are staying for longer. So anyway.
Yeah, you're not learning, and you're just, you're right. The resilience is massive. It's a skill set you build over time. You don't have to be thick-skinned, but resilient enough. Change is real. It's happening. It's all around you. Just go with the flow. Go. It's not me. It's just happening around me, and I'm just part of it. It's okay. I'll deal with it.
100%. All right, time for data jokes. This is my favorite bit because I'm the one who doesn't embarrass himself. However, I do embarrass myself by laughing at all the terrible data jokes that we've got. So, as always, Gurbani, as the guest, would you like to go first or second?
I'll go first because it'll be easier for you to trump my data joke. Yeah, they are terrible ones, but I did smile, so I was like, this is a good data joke. So I've got two of them. So 3 database, so SQL walked into a NoSQL bar, and they walked out after, just spending 5 or 6 minutes in it. You know why? Because they didn't find any tables in there. So the joke is that SQL is built on tables, and NoSQL is no tables. So that's I smiled. I went,
that's pretty good. That's you know what as well? That is a legitimate data joke.
Yeah.
The other one is a little bit around it's around technical people. So anybody, who's a technical person would go, yeah, that makes sense, so there's versions of it. So there was somebody who said, please go to the supermarket and can you get milk? And if there is eggs, get 6. This person came back with 6 bottles of milk because there were eggs in the supermarket.
What? Oh my God.
This is probably, why we need more BAs around in the business, so that the requirements and the spec is written properly, or the data engineers or the developers will end up building, something which is like that.
Amazing. I love it.
Oh my God,
I'm very impressed.
So good.
I'm going to take the first one as the best of the two. My favorite anyway, personally.
Same.
Yeah.
I like that. Mine's tragic, and we've probably had it before, but I don't actually remember. So
we've done quite a lot of episodes now, Em. So I won't be surprised. But go on, what have you got for us?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, we have our daily lives are generally filled with so many instances where we go, oh my God, I have something which actually happened to me. So this was one of very young data engineers when he or she had started in their career. They deployed something to production, and it had to run once a month. They deployed it for 31st of the month.
Oh no!
It didn't run for 6 months because
That's so brutal.
every alternate month has got a 30th.
Oh
poor
no,
dude.
that's so bad.
I bet they were
It's really
devastated.
bad, but then we ended up laughing over it because we were like, oh my
course.
God,
You
this
have to
is
laugh.
That's,
You have to laugh.
you
that
can't do
is-
anything else, you have to laugh. But this is real. This is something's
real stuff.
happened.
Well, let's
Yeah.
see if you can get us a laugh as well, Emily. Here we go.
Oh God,
Come on, let's
okay.
do this.
All right. I collected a lot of data trying to disprove confirmation bias. The results were exactly as I expected. It's so bad, I
Good
know.
one.
It's good.
See,
You've
this
got a
is
laugh.
the example. You can use data to prove anything you want.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I know.
Just
Exactly.
need to be, a smart person. Yeah.
And we've
The
got more
morality
data,
compass. needs
more
to be-
data proving that data isn't that funny often. So yeah. All right. Let's get into the big topic of today's chat. And it's an interesting one, and it could open up a few different avenues, and it covers imposter syndrome. I think it's something that we're a lot more aware of now as a society. A lot more people are aware of it in their day-to-day and see it popping up. And I'd love to hear from you, Gurbani, as you've especially progressed through your career, maybe how this has affected you both in a positive and perhaps even also in a negative fashion.
First, you need to identify you're going through this. So imposter syndrome is real. I didn't know the word existed till I came across it. I went, oh, this is real, and this is happening with a lot more people than me. And it's usually a result of not having confidence over yourself. You feeling like you're a fraud. Basically, that's what it is. You feel like you are not 100% qualified to do the task that you have been assigned, but you forget that the person who assigned you the task thought you were qualified, and you made your way up till here, and you're doing a fine job. So this is real, and it affects a lot of people, and we spend a lot more time rechecking our work and making sure we've got it to the entire, we've dotted our I's. So it is real, and it affects all of us. And I've started to realize that sometimes, it's different aspects of it. Even if when I know it's real and it's affecting me, it's still different times when it affects me, I still feel the same. And then I found out the ways how I sorted out for myself. I found my remedies. So I reach out to my trusted network of peers, colleagues, seniors, and tell them, call a spade, saying, this is what I'm feeling, and they say they will give me the way out, which is, which could be, if you're feeling, say, you're not up to the job or your presentation's not good enough, they'll tell you you can do this, and it just helps you feel that you're crossing out your T's much more better than what you were doing before.
Yeah.
And when you talk to your seniors, people. So I'm a relatively new, young data leader. Not in terms of age, but just generally in terms of years of experience. But when I talk to people who've been in the data leadership space for a long period of time, chief data officers and chief analytics officers, these are roles now which didn't exist previously. There was a Forbes article where they said the chief data officer might be the next CEO, which was like, wow, that's quite mainstream now, right? So when I talk to these people, they explain and say these problems affect them also. So when I face a problem, it's not a problem because I am not doing my job really well. It's not a problem because it's me in the position doing the job. It's a problem across the industry.
I think it's a bigger problem than we perhaps know, and it definitely shows up in different ways depending on the person as well, obviously. Myself, I see, it's a phrase that we've been using more recently, as you know, Emily, which is, as a leader, when things are going well in your team, it's your team that's doing well, right?
Yes.
And especially try and put the praise on them. But when things are going badly, it's the leader is the problem why it's going badly, right? And especially in the position I'm in now, because I don't place people in roles day to day, so I can't affect that kind of like, okay, we're putting money into the business on a day-to-day basis. When things aren't going well, it's sometimes you almost as a leader feel a little bit powerless. You can't actually affect things on a day-to-day basis, and then you go, well, God, like, what am I doing in this position? Maybe there's someone else who could be better at this than me. So I know you've just started getting into leadership as well, Emily, and probably starting to see some of that. You can only affect so much as a leader. It does affect you.
You need to like also be quite aware of which I think I'm learning always, and everyone probably is across the board, but like what you need from people when you're in those moments. So for me, I would be like, I need to bounce things off. For example, Joel, be like, are you sure I can do this? Or do you think that, like, similar to what you've said about your network, and then you just kick into gear because it's words of affirmation that you need at the end of the day or whatever, you know? So knowing that is like key, I feel, for me anyway.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I think you articulated it so much better than me, but yes, you're right. You know, you know what to do. It's just you're just doubting yourself. And it's somewhere along the line, the environment has been like that as well. I was actually listening to a podcast, so this is not my story. I was listening to a podcast where there was another leader talking about a board member. So there was this female, very experienced board member, and this person told her that I've never had to explain architecture to a woman.
Wow.
You know, it's instances like that. You know, I would go, I don't know how to respond to that, you know. But yeah, she was a seasoned leader, so she went, "Don't worry, it's just the same way."
Yeah.
Wow.
But I'm sure it affected her, or she's become, or affected her less over a period of time. But instances like this, but what it for me it. I generally try to look at things in a much more positive way rather than go negative. You know, life's full of drama anyways, right? So, you know, might as well go find the positive aspect in everything, right? So I went and looked at it. I said, if somebody says that to me, A, I know how to respond to that. B, it's not something got to do with me. They're not putting me down as an individual. They're trying to put down a larger group, which, you know, now it suddenly doesn't become my problem, it becomes their problem now, you know. So it's just making me feel much more comfortable.
100%.
Yes,
but do you know what, having a thick skin and developing a thick skin doesn't mean it doesn't hurt still. It's how you deal with the pain and move forward from it from there, rather than necessarily dwelling on it. I think a lot of people say, "Oh, just forget about it and move on." But I think by acknowledging it and accepting it, sometimes it helps you deal with it.
That's how you build a thick skin as well, right? Like, you're not shutting yourself off emotionally by saying you have a thick skin. You're like learning by acknowledging it and doing something about it and moving on.
Yeah,
it's about how fast you can bounce back. So it's just that, you know, if in the first time, sometimes I don't know how to respond.
Yeah, exactly. Well, sometimes not responding
because
is
it's
the best
just
response.
it's obnoxious what they're saying. I just don't know how to respond, and it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be somebody who's not the same gender as me or the same, you know, ethnicity as me, you know. Could be the same thing, you know. But it's just, they are who they are, and I am who I am. And with time, I have learned to bounce back quicker and faster and with the same amount of bounce in it. And I will get better with time because I've acknowledged it, that this is not my problem, this is their problem.
Exactly. And I think as well, if something affects you, whether it be imposter syndrome or a flippant comment, whatever it may be, at the end of the day, one of the phrases I think of is, you don't always have your barriers up the same level each day. And if something affects you more one time than maybe it did on another day, that's also okay, because who knows what else is going on in your world. And, you know, the smallest thing can really get you one day and the biggest thing cannot get you the next. So it's, again, having that acknowledgement that things do go up and down, and that's okay. And you know, it's okay to feel a bit different on certain days as well. What advice would you give, maybe, yeah, even if we focus in, young women coming into the data industry, we obviously have a lot more focus nowadays on, welcoming women into the tech space, but it's still quite a daunting prospect, I'm sure. What advice would you give, obviously looking back on when you maybe first started as well in your experience?
I don't know. I think I had to go through the experiences and the exposure to become the person I have become today.
Sure.
And I have learned so much from each of my leaders. I have learned, if you ask me who's my best boss or my best manager, it'll be so hard to pick because I've sort of become like a really, I don't know, good or a bad mix of all their qualities put together. Because I've gone and said, I really like the way you are so direct and straightforward, and you're not mincing words, you're not wasting time with some leaders, and I have brought on that quality in myself. Versus some leaders I've gone, you're so good at building that empathetic factor, you're so good at building this relationship where you're getting the business to trust you. And then I've looked at some people, go, you're so resilient, so many big things are happening around you, and you're not letting that emotion on your face. So I don't think I want to change anything or tell. Only thing I'd tell my younger self is just like, good things will happen, bad will happen, but you'll come out much more better evolved person. And for young women today, I think the biggest advice to them is talk. Don't keep things inside you. Talk. And I encourage that within my team. I've got a lot of people who are, in different age categories, who are different ethnicities, who have different values, who are, different genders. I would just say, whether it's women or men or whoever, if they are feeling uncomfortable or if they are, in any form of self-doubt, talk. And it does not mean just come and talk to me. Talk to any one person. And if that person, maybe that person's not having a good day, don't stop just because that door is shut. Maybe they're going through something. And I usually give a lot of leverage to the other person if they shut me down one instance or two instances. And if they shut me down over a period of time, I'm just going, they are just shut person, it's got nothing to do with me. But yeah, reach out to different people, and they will be, just learn from their experiences. Just tell them what they're going through and why are they feeling the self-doubt, and that's it. Because once you start talking about it, you will realize it's got nothing to do with you. It's normal, and it's like you mentioned, different instances, different examples come up. One day it could be, I don't know how to write, possibly, I can't remember back then, but yeah, maybe I had doubt when I was writing my first SQL code. I don't write SQL code every day, but I don't doubt. I think I can write the meanest SQL code today, even though I don't do it every day. I have confidence in my ability. I can get the job done. You will write it in a different way, but that does not mean mine is wrong.
I like what you said about your leaders and how you couldn't pick because you picked up on so many things and different things from them. And I feel like that's a good piece of advice for like those young women, men, whoever that are coming into the workforce, to ask questions and don't be shy. To see if someone's got a strength that you want, then be like, oh my God, you're amazing. How did you do that? And like literally soak it all up, be a sponge, because that would be really helpful, I think, for people who are a little bit more, be hard because a lot of people, generalizing here, in data are quite introverted, but it would be
100%.
a good one.
Well, even in our team as well, Emily, the amount of times I hear someone sit there and go, can I just ask you a stupid question? I'm like, just ask. You don't have to say a stupid question.
That's a segue, and it's such a cliched segue.
I know, but
I do that sometimes too, because I'm going, that sounds like a very obvious thing, but I'm sure I'm not understanding it. So I'm the stupid person in the room today because I'm not understanding why are you doing this the certain way, or why are you even doing it in the first place. And sometimes asking that simple and basic question, is you ask the question what everybody else is thinking.
I know, but I just don't see it as a stupid question because it's like,
No, it's
I needed that knowledge right then, so it wasn't stupid. So, anyway. Well, look, I think that's some really, really good advice that you've given there. So we have to unfortunately move to the last stage of our chat today, which has been very, very enjoyable. And more advice that you could perhaps impart on people is we always try and ask about books that you might have read that you think would be really useful for other people. So yeah, any book recommendations that you have?
See, we're in the age of instant gratification,
Yeah.
right? So I used to be a really big book reader when I was younger, but then life took over, and now I fall back to articles from McKinsey and Gartner and everything.
Sure.
But there's this book recently I read. It's a book of really small articles put together. It's called Numbers Don't Lie by Vaclav Smil. It's one of the books. How did I get my hands on it? It was in Bill Gates' books to read list something, but it's a really good book. It's got let's say 4 or 5 pages. That's one article. It's just lots of information, and it's very relevant because it's not a book that was written in 1990. It's a book that's been written in the last 1 year. So it's got instances and inferences from COVID and all of that. But yeah, if you're looking to be relevant, then I think articles which come out and listening to podcasts, I learn so much because it's a really good medium. So many people come and tell about their experiences, what worked for them, what didn't work for them. 2 podcasts, I'll probably come out with one insight going, that really made sense to me, either because I related to it or it was there. But yeah, I usually go to books when it's more philosophical and something when I want to just completely unwind. Yeah. Oprah's book is really good. Things I Know for Sure. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, that one's really good. It talks about her life experiences. She's a very resilient person again. Yeah.
Nice. No, that's good advice, and you're right that there's so many different avenues now to get your knowledge, so podcasts or TV or documentaries or films or books. And I've actually just gone the opposite way from you. I've started getting heavily back into reading books, which has been quite nice for me. But yeah, you're right about that instant gratification. People want it now.
Yes, I want it now. And then I mean, fortunately, I love what I do, so I want to keep on top of it, and I want to understand what's happening and how a company is doing with dealing with the issues. I want to understand, oh, so this issue is going to come up, I'm on this path, so this is going to come up, so I'm prepared for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great recommendation. So we'll get that up on our list, which we're going to be sharing very soon because we have quite a long list of books now, which is great. Before we let you go, actually, anything else that you want to add that we might not have hit on today?
No, it was really lovely chatting to you guys. It was like friends catching up. And
I know, right? And the time goes so quickly. And I say this at the end of every episode. We've been told categorically that we're not allowed to go over the hour mark. So we don't. We make sure we keep it under. But thank you, everyone, for listening. And thank you, Emily, as always.
Thank you.
Especially thank you, Gurbani, for coming on and sharing your insight and very useful knowledge.
Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. And we'll see you all next time.